Hi, my name's Ian. I'm a dad, an engineer. I've done some business, and sometimes climate change can get you feeling down. Um, I mean, this week I live in Canada. I live in Toronto, and the Globe and Mail published this thing that by some hydrogen experts. I mean, Google them. I don't really know if they're experts, but claiming like hydrogen was dead and it was a waste of time and we shouldn't focus on green fuels at all. The only thing we can do is green grids, right? Use wind turbines for electricity, but forget about fuels. And you see things like that and you go, oh, really? But no, like don't don't listen to everybody. Not everybody's credible. Um, I mean, I can go into their or lack of analysis, but forget about that. What I want you to pick up on here is this molecule right here, nitrogen. The air is 78% nitrogen, and hydrogen. It's easy to make. It's energy dense. It works as a fuel, and it's here. Like it is here. All right. So it's not off in the future if research goes well. I mean, people are building this to the tune of billions of dollars right now, today, and they're going to use it. The first place they're using it is in ships, the big ships going across the ocean. Um, they're converting those motors to run on this stuff. So nitrogen and hydrogen is called ammonia. Um, and yes, it stinks, but you keep it in a tank. And when you put it through the engine and have your exhaust treatments and everything, it's perfectly green when you burn it. Perfectly green. And you make it with wind and water and air. And so naysayers, and then the truth, or where the money is actually going. Smart money, like unsubsidized money, just doing this. So, it's funny, and this thing it was in the Globe and Mail, and so I don't know, millions of people read it, and then Oxford, like Oxford, um, did a year-long study on port level fuel demand models. They did this study, and it's in the description, a link to it, and the video of this study has like 24 views, right? Uh, the really credible Oxford school. Anyway, so they just did this big report studying how shipping will go green, which ports will have the most demand, which will import, which will export. And it's super interesting. So, their moderate case is for 600 million tons. And they talk about ammonia in tons rather than barrels. It's confusing, but so shipping is like 3% of global fuel consumption. Right now, we use 100 million barrels of oil a day across everything. So that means we use about 3 million barrels a day of oil every day, right? So 100 million is about $88 billion of oil every day. So, I mean, to offset that, we're going to make a lot of ammonia, a lot. I mean, the scale of oil and the scale of offsetting oil is just it's incredible. So, they're probably going to focus on the top 50 ports first, and that means 50 of what I say is like 2,000 ports they studied. The top 50 takes up almost 45, 46% of the demand right there. And a lot of these ships are actually being designed so that they can run on ammonia or oil. And so the ships themselves have flexibility. So as you roll out the ports, the ships will use green fuel when they can. I mean, smart, smart, smart. Um, they got into, okay, like what are the real cost drivers here? You have the electricity to make hydrogen, which then you combine with nitrogen from the air. So first you're cracking hydrogen, so that's light blue, and then dark blue you're making ammonia, and then I mean depending on where you're making it, it might be by rail or port or something or rail or ship it. You're moving it around, right? And then across the sea, what's the cost of that? Well, basically, like different ports will have different costs by like maybe $50. But I mean, we're not refining this. So, there's a lot of flexibility. So here in Toronto, we could end up using ammonia made in North Africa, and it wouldn't really be that much different a price than ammonia made in Ohio, right? Um, and interesting in all of this, producing this ammonia it's very low labor. It's mostly um, steel pipes and turbines and stuff. So whether or not you're making this in a rich country or poor country doesn't change your cost drivers that much. In fact, like the really big thing in green energy is sort of an operating coefficient. So if you have a wind turbine, it's not windy all day, right? So in Ontario, I think ours run at like 30% of their nameplate capacity because of variability in wind. But offshore, somewhere quite windy, they might run at 45% of their nameplate. And so you pay for the same turbine, but you get more energy if you're in a place with more steady, sustained wind, right? So that right there is the big driver. So you'll see that the people who are going to supply this, like Chile has massive tracts of land that have sun, sun, sun all the time, right? Like I don't know who's a wine fan, but Mendoza wine. Mendoza is actually a desert. It's all irrigated from the Andes. So I mean they have sun all day, every day. Um, so that impacts, your return on solar, right? So parts of the US, parts of Mexico, Australia's like perfect for making green energy. It has endless tracts, kind of useless land, like land that nobody's farming, nobody's doing anything with. So it's quite cheap, right? So if you could turn massive chunks of Australia into solar production or wind production and export fuel. Um, so production, you know, you can make this in the port where you're going to use it, but you know, probably wouldn't. So probably what's going to develop is these regional relationships. Um, North Africa will probably supply Europe. Um, Asia, I mean, China can produce quite a bit, but Asia in general will probably be supplied by Australia. Um, and it just sort of depends on where the right land, that's not really useful for anything else is, combined with either lots of sun or lots of wind, combined with access to a port or ease of getting to a port. You understand what I'm saying? Um, but I mean, the governments can influence this a bit. Um, if the US decides that they want to subsidize this a little bit because of concerns about energy independence or anything, um, just a little bit of subsidy changes the math So, I mean, obviously, but so that would, for example, shift it from the US to Australia or from Australia to the US. And so, I mean, government policy will impact this a bit. Um, but at the end of the day, uh, it always makes sense to do. I mean, the costs always make sense, and it's 100% green, and the technology exists, and they're building the ships, and they're building the green ammonia, and they're putting it into ports, and so like maybe I'll even put in the silly article from the Globe and Mail. Um, this is happening. This investment right here is $2 trillion of investment is going to go just into the shipping, just into shipping, $2 trillion of investment. And if that number sounds crazy to you, remember $88 billion of oil a day. It's all big. I mean, the numbers of all of this are so huge. We are going to witness one of the biggest economic shifts, the biggest probably the world has ever seen, transitioning from oil to ammonia. Don't don't listen to anyone that's telling you this stuff isn't happening. It's huge. All right. Uh yeah, Globe Mail. Globe Mail versus Oxford. Like, I mean, what are you gonna say? All right. Uh Cheers.